What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Par None podcast. I'm Brady Falk here with Ryan Hernandez for episode 17, I believe.
Sounds right.
Going to talk today a little bit about the Ryder Cup picks. The captain's picks were made on both the U.S. and the European teams since our last episode. And then we dug up a little Tiger Woods stats collection that is shocking. So we wanted to talk a little bit about that. But we'll start with the Ryder Cup picks.
Yeah, well, first of all, we have to acknowledge that this has nothing to do with golf, but the CU Buffs took it to the TCU Horned Frogs, which was awesome to watch. Got the old the prime hat going, so CU football's fun. CU football's fun for for the first time in a decade. So, yeah, my family's been huge CU football fans. We had season tickets for 60 years. So yeah, anyway, that was a fun football game to watch. It has nothing to do with golf in our podcast, but if you're not a CU football fan, you should be a CU football fan now because Deion Sanders is hilarious just to watch and listen to, and maybe the best story in college football this year. We'll see.
It's going to be fun to see how, that week one was incredible and how week two, usually college football, week one's kind of you start out a little bit sloppy. There's no preseason. And then all the changes are made for week two. So if they can even improve on week one, should be exciting.
Yeah, they got to play some defense. What I think is interesting, I don't know how you feel about this, again, or we're already getting off into a tangent, but it's so weird to me that, and I don't know what exactly the reason is, unless it's, I'm guessing it's just monetary money motivated, but I saw Oklahoma beat Arkansas State 73-0, and I heard they pay. I know that this happens, but those first couple weeks, a lot of times those big schools will pay these little schools a lot of money to come in there and just basically just kick the shit out of them, which I don't really understand that. I don't know. I guess you must need money pretty badly if you're willing to just get walloped by a big name school. But I also just I don't understand why if you're Oklahoma or Alabama or Notre Dame, a lot of these big schools play these super easy non-conference schedules, and I just don't understand that. I feel there should be a rule that says you have to play a certain level. I don't know, because it seems I don't know what you think, but it seems to me almost unfair that all these teams are going to start 3-0 with really just basically no competition whatsoever. And then, again, not like CU is a powerhouse, but they have to go TCU, Nebraska, Colorado State, which isn't the hardest non-conference schedule, but at least it's against teams that are relevant to the college football framework.
Yeah, I know. At this point, it's just customary to play a terrible team the first week, rack up 70 points, and pay money to that school for coming.
Yeah, and I guess those schools, I'm sure those schools are very probably in need. $2 billion probably helps them out quite a bit. But I know even just as a coach or a player, it would really be hard to just for a fact, sans a once in every decade this kind of happens, but for a fact that you're just going to get blown out. You're going to feel crappy because I've coached plenty of things, and a loss always feels crappy even if you know it's coming. So it would suck going into a game all week prepping, just knowing Oklahoma is just going to bend us over, and we're just going to have to take it. It almost seems kind of this is getting kind of dark, but I guess I won't go there. But do you know what I mean? You're receiving money for a punishment. It's such a weird deal that you don't do anywhere else. You know what I mean? You don't do that. It's just a weird.
Well, wherever you were going with that, you'll have to tell me later. I'm anxious to hear now.
Well, everybody knows where I was going with it. It's just a weird thing that you're we're going to take money to get throttled, basically. So
yeah, I guess the money must help their program enough, right, to make it worth it, because I don't know why a school would want to do that
I don't know
otherwise.
either.
Like, I don't know if they get, like, if there's benefits from the exposure that they get, like, playing in.
Probably.
So, I don't know.
I'm guessing, like, for a school like Arkansas State or these other, to have Oklahoma even come there is a big deal, and it probably draws a bigger crowd. So that's more ticket sales. That's more concession sales. They probably get it. They get on TV. Like Oklahoma game's going to be on TV somewhere. Whereas, if they just played another team, maybe in their conference or in their whatever league, or they probably wouldn't get that same exposure. So I do get all that from like a business standpoint. I just know from like a competitive coaching and playing standpoint that has to be hard to just know that you're going to get beat up on, but whatever. I just think it's a weird deal. It's a weird like thing that I think needs to go. I don't think you should set up these, like Alabama does not need to be playing whoever they played, like you don't,
So,
it's just weird.
if it were to go, do you think that college needs a playoff week or something to warm up, or is that first week of the season where number one plays number three and they're off because they haven't had any games yet, and it ruins their chances at the college football playoffs?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess I wouldn't care. I mean, I think I'd be fine with them having a preseason. Like lots of other sports have that. Like college baseball has like a preseason where you go play. Like these games don't matter. We're just here to like tune up things. So I think fine, do that. Do whatever you want to do, even if it's just like like a light, like almost like a scrimmage. Like we're not going to go full. We'll go like shoulder pads and helmets and that's it, or whatever it is. But at the same time, like if you're the number one team, then like at least play somebody. I'm not saying you have to like do 1 versus 3 on the first week of the season, but at least trot out somebody that it's like there's an off chance they could make it competitive. I mean, I just wanted to be competitive. I'm fine if Alabama walks out there and wins 48-24. That's still a beating, but at least it's like that game had some, like balance to it, whereas 72-0 is just ridiculous. Or I was looking at some of these other scores, and I didn't really expect to spend the first 10 minutes talking about college football, but I'm fine with it.
It's that season.
We got it. But like some of these scores, like Notre Dame played. Didn't they play in like? I can't remember. They played in like Europe or something to start the season, and they beat Navy like 43-0.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at somebody like Tennessee beat Virginia 49-13. The Oklahoma game. Ole Miss played Mercer and won 73-7. Oregon played Portland State and won 81-7. Notre Dame played Tennessee State this week and won 56-3. So now they've played Navy and Tennessee State. It's just like, come on, guys. Like,
Yeah, I do think
Georgia played UT Martin. Who is that? USC played Nevada. Kansas State played Southeast Missouri. Texas A&M played New Mexico. Alabama played MTSU. I don't even know. I don't like. Is that Middle Tennessee State?
Yeah.
Okay, so like, I don't know. Just to me, that just Oregon State played San Jose, but LSU played Florida, so that Florida State, so that was 5-8. But I'm just saying, like, does Alabama really need to play Mid Tennessee State?
Yeah.
Maybe Mid Tennessee State needs that. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't seem fair because then you're basically giving them a head start into the college playoff where like even like a TCU or a Colorado or whoever, those like middle section of teams have to, like, their difficulty of schedule, which I know plays into it, is so much harder to get those first 3 wins than an Alabama or like Notre Dame is like, basically just start them at 2-0 and they can take 2 bye weeks off.
Yeah. I think the selection committee does do a decent job, though, at rewarding schools that have a difficult schedule. So, I personally, I don't really mind the first week of blowouts. It's usually not super exciting, but then you get that one game, like where there is the upset or the close call.
Yeah.
It makes it a little bit interesting that way. But all I can say is I'm glad I'm not one of those little schools that goes and gets railroaded 71-0.
Right. You're Arizona State.
Yeah, and we were favored by 31.5, and we won by 3. So that was an interesting game. It
Who did you guys
also
play?
um,
Southern
was
Utah.
yeah.
Played Southern. So you guys also had one of those. Well, it was supposed to be an easy game.
Yeah, ASU always does, and it's usually it's. I would bet the under on that spread every single time. We never cover, so
That's
yeah,
yeah. I mean, you guys at least again, you guys are. I mean, at least you guys jump into it after the first week. Like Oklahoma State, Fresno State has been good in the past. Like that, I'm fine with. Which you'll probably beat Fresno State. They're not a huge competitor, but it's like okay, Fresno State has been in the conversation at some point, but like the other ones, I don't know about. Mercer has never been in the conversation. So like, and you guys play us on October 7th, so we'll have to put some money on that.
nice.
Yeah, I can't wait to throttle you guys. I better not say that because then I'll eat my words. I'm not very good at that kind of thing. But anyways, where are you guys? Are you guys moving? You guys are moving conferences. Where are you going?
Big 12.
Okay, we are too. Nice.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm not really sure how I feel about it all yet. It's weird that the Pac-12 is down to like 4 teams, I think.
Yeah.
And the Big 10, Big 12, Pac. Let's see, what's the other one that I'm missing? The SEC. They're all just huge now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I guess it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. You're obviously not going to be able to play all of the teams, or
right?
Half the teams in your conference. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I hated that the Buffs went to the Pac-12 in the first place, so I'm kind of happy to see them back in the Big 12, though it's not the same Big 12. Like we're missing a lot of the fun teams that were in the Big 12 to begin with. Like it used to. Growing up, we got to see like Texas A&M, Kansas State. There's a lot of those like kind of like older established schools, and now a lot of those are gone. And I honestly don't even know who's in the Big 12 anymore. I don't pay attention because it just flips so often. But we used to play, you had kind of, exactly who. Oklahoma was in the Big 12. So we had some big schools playing in the Big 12. But I think all of those, Nebraska, but all those guys are going to like the SEC or the Big 10, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Nebraska's already Big 10.
Okay.
I'm not really sure about all the other ones because there has been so many changes, so I don't know off the top of my head.
You see, it's hard to keep track. You used to know every school, and now it's like, where are they at?
Yeah.
So silly. Again, money, just like TV revenue or whatever the share revenue is, I think is why these guys jump. So same kind of deal, just for a different thing.
Yeah. Well, I thought that this season was gonna be kind of silly with all the changes that are happening next year. Like that, like whoever wins the Pac-12 doesn't really matter, but actually it probably makes it even more important because like it's not gonna really be a thing maybe next year. So you'd be the last in it. It'll probably still be pretty competitive, and I don't think anything will change in that regard. Where my first instinct was how ruined this season is, but I don't think that will have any factor in it.
Yeah, no, I think teams still want to win, and they still want to win their conference championship. So I think it's safe, but I do think it's weird that in like a day, a conference can just be like dead in the water. Like the Pac-12 is basically just dead in the water now. Yeah. It's also hilarious that they keep the same name. So like the Big 10 has like 16 teams. Yeah. Is it that hard just to call it the Big 16 or the Sweet 16 or change it? Like I don't know why we have to like play this game where we call it the Big 10 and there's not 10 teams in it. The Big 12 doesn't have 12 teams in it. Like just change the number.
Yeah, with all the changes going into next year, maybe that will change.
You'd think.
It doesn't seem like that needs to stay the same. Like
right. Like just change it. It's like it's okay if it was the Big 12 last year. Just print new merchandise and put a 13 on it. Like it's fine. Yeah. I don't know, so silly. But okay, we should probably talk about some golf stuff. But anyways, I didn't mean to go on a 15-minute tangent about college football. But anyway, go Buffs.
Speaking of team sports, how about that Ryder Cup?
How about that Ryder Cup? What a crazy deal that is. No. Yeah, I mean, again, I'll just, I know I've done plenty of talking already, but I've been listening to a lot of stuff since the picks came out, especially the American picks. We can talk about Europe in a second, but like a lot of people are just like, ripping. There's been a lot of like ripping on people who thought Justin Thomas shouldn't be on the team, as like that's an insane take to have. And I've seen like, nobody, like, we don't know the decisions that go into these guys. For example, I was listening, I love the Par None podcast. That's us. The Foreplay podcast. And those four guys were just talking about how insane it is that people would not want Justin Thomas on the Ryder Cup team, and how you can't just take, he's had a bad season. You can't just base it off a bad season. You have to look at his career and what he's meant, because you're assembling a team and you're trying to find the best, not necessarily like the 12 best, but the best 12 that are going to work together, which I get that argument. However, then they kind of like, I felt like they kind of like they want it both ways, because then they talked about how they were not really on the Cam Young train, because they have all of this like scar tissue from Paris, where all of our guys were long hitters, and they set up the course not to play to long hitters. So I'm like, so in essence, the very way that you're playing, not being able to get the ball in the fairway at that point, factors in immensely. And so you got beat because of like skill wise. So I'm just like, you can't have it both ways. You can't have this like, we're trying to build a team and you got to look at their career and, all of these kinds of things, regardless if they're struggling. And then I feel like turning around and be like, well, he wasn't doing what he needed to do that week to get it done. And I think that's the Justin Thomas argument for me, is like, he's not getting it done right now, and you need him to get it done right now. In other sports, if you have like a veteran guy, that guy, if he's not producing, he doesn't play. He may be a clubhouse guy, he may be like a pinch hitter, or you're going to put him in, or as a motivator or a sideline guy, but he does not like start or play that much. Same thing with like, he's going to be the sixth man, or he's on the bench to kind of be a veteran presence. It's like, it's fine if Justin Thomas wants to be part of it, but again, I don't think if you can throw him out there and trust that he's going to deliver based on the golf that he's like, the golf that you're playing has to matter at some point right now. I think it's kind of naive to say like, well, 4 years ago or 2 years ago, or even like last year in the Ryder or in the President's Cup, he chipped in from a bunker and everybody went crazy, so he's automatically going to be good this year. I don't know. Again, I mean, like, I don't think we both knew that he was not in any danger of not making the team, but I think this whole argument of like, well, he's in because you got to look at his body of work and then be pissed off when the guys who have a good body of work don't deliver that specific week. I don't know if you can have it both ways. Your thoughts?
Yeah.
I'm done talking.
Yeah, so I definitely was not surprised that JT got picked, but I didn't think that he earned the pick. I still stand by my guns on that, and I think Keegan should have been on the team. I think that was the big talking points where Justin got on, Keegan did not. The interesting thing about like the picks is that the quality of the pick will be determined after the Ryder Cup, right?
Right.
Like, if he does phenomenal, it will be a good pick. But if he does terrible, it will be a bad pick. But it shouldn't be based on that. It should be based on the information that he had available to him at the time of the picking, which I think the information points towards him not being on the team. I think there were a lot better options, even if he does phenomenal at the Ryder Cup. And I hope he does, because I love JT. I'm probably like the biggest JT fan ever, but I just don't think that he earned it this year. So it'll be interesting to see how he does, how people react to it. but Keegan was a super classy sportsman guy about not getting picked, putting out a statement that he's gonna watch every second of it and is excited to cheer on the team, but that he did everything he could to be on it, and that hopefully, I don't know, his career is probably definitely past prime, at least in 2 years by the next Ryder Cup. So
Yeah.
His chance of being on the team again is probably pretty slim, but JT will probably be on it for. I mean, if he get picked this year, he'll probably be on it every single year until he's like 50.
Well, and that's yeah. You know, I know we talked about this last week, and this has kind of been a topic of conversation on a lot of Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts and golf podcasts. Is it a boys club or is it a competition? You know, like, are we picking guys? And I do get the argument, you know, like, as a coach, I do understand taking a guy on a team that you're like, he may not be the 12th best golfer or the best hitter or the best player, but there's something about his intangibles or his attitude or he works really hard. And I want guys like that around.
Yeah.
And I get that. However, you usually want guys around, you know, at least for me as a coach, it's usually with the understanding like, hey, you're probably not going to get as much playing time as these other guys unless you show, you know, like the few opportunities you get, you take advantage of. I realize in a situation like this, there's not like a lot of time for that to happen. But again, I think you can have JT be part of it without maybe playing, because his playing is clearly just not where it needs to be. But like you said, I hope he figures it out. Maybe he does. Maybe this is just like a freak thing where he's just like, it doesn't matter how I'm playing. The Ryder Cup is just going to fire me up and I'll get it. You know, I mean, I think playing to the boys club kind of thing, if you look at, you know, like even Zach Johnson was like, well, I picked Sam Burns, though I think Burns deserves it. I mean, clearly, like, he had enough points and won the match play, so I'm not against that pick. But even like Zach Johnson was like, well, if you saw the relationship Sam Burns had with these guys, you'll know why I picked him, which fine. But again, now you're kind of playing into that narrative of,
100%.
well, it's JT, it's Ricky, it's Matt, you know, all these guys are buddies, and so they're all going to play together because they're buddies. And it's almost kind of like when you're in school and all of the same popular kids get picked to do all the fun things or get picked to do all of the, like, you know, they're all buddies, and so they're all going to continue to get picked to do all of like the extracurricular cool things. They're all going to win the awards. They're all going to be the people and that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of how it comes off to me. And I'll probably, you know, if anybody actually listened to this, I'd probably catch some flack for it. But I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, again, if it was like, well, we get 10 people qualify and he gets to pick 2 people for their intangibles.
Yeah.
Then maybe I get doing it. And I guess you could make the argument that he did pick 10 of the best people. So JT and whoever, Ricky, are his choices, which fine. I guess it is a bummer that Keegan didn't get on. He's the only guy that I thought should have been on that's not on. And yeah, I just don't, like, I agree. I just don't think JT should be on. And I think you're setting a dangerous precedent, like you said, of like 15 years down the road, these guys are still on the team because there's like this captain's buddy club where they all just kind of pick each other to be captain and then vice captains. And then there's this player buddy club that those guys are just going to somehow work into being part of it. So, you know, I just think, and I think you can make that argument again. And I know JT was 15th on the list, but if you want to look at body of work, you can make that argument for some other people that, like, well, obviously you're not going to pick them, but like their body of work. I mean, like, I know I made this kind of insane reference, but like Phil Mickelson's body of work, you could be like, well, he's not playing very well right now, but his body of work says he should be on the Ryder Cup team because he has one of the greatest Ryder Cup records of all time. He almost won. He was very close to winning the Masters. Like, well, I mean, I don't necessarily think that idea is clearly fleshed out on the other end of the argument.
That's why he didn't get picked.
What?
He's not a member of that boys club anymore, though.
Right. And that's what, even Keegan said that. Like, I'm not as close with those guys.
Yeah.
And so that seems like what it comes down to is if you're not close to those guys and you're kind of in the running, you're not going to get picked because they want it to be like it is a serious deal, but it's like, oh, these are the guys I want to hang out with. And it's like, well, that's awesome. Like, but does he give you the best chance to win? Apparently he does in the eyes of a lot of people, but I just don't. I don't agree. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, JT is playing before the Ryder Cup. Is it this weekend or next weekend? I'm not sure, but there has to be a ton of pressure on him to perform because if he goes out there and misses the cut again, like he has to have zero confidence going into the Ryder Cup. But like I said, I hope he does well. I hope that he does well in this next tournament coming up. I hope he does well in the Ryder Cup. But the pressure on him.
He is going to play this weekend?
Yeah. Yeah, he committed a couple of weeks ago.
I wonder if he pulls himself out now that he got selected. I have a hard time. Well, maybe. It seems like I have a hard time believing he's going to play, but maybe he does.
I saw the interview of all the players and Zach Johnson after the picks came out, and he was talking about playing in it. So as of after the picks came out, he was still intending to play. That might have changed since then. I didn't see otherwise, but I was definitely surprised because someone asked him if he was still going to play, and he said that he was planning on it. So he must be looking for something in his game, and he thinks he needs to play in a tournament to find it. But
which is concern. I mean, you could say is concerning.
Yeah, I would say so.
Is it the Fortnite Championship that he's going to play in? Or the Sanderson Farms? No, that's not till October. So it's got to be the Fortnite because that's the only one coming up the 14th through the 17th.
Where's it at?
Silverado Resort and Spa.
Oh, I think it might be overseas.
Oh, okay.
I guess I'm not sure on that. I saw something and I just assumed that it was in Europe.
Oh, that would make more sense.
But I'm gonna pull up the Ryder Cup roster here, and then we can talk about any other surprises or any other people. So for a first on par none, we're doing a screen share if you're watching.
Yes, if you're watching. We'll describe it to you, though. You're missing out if you're not watching this on YouTube or... Okay. I mean, yeah, I think we've talked the USA pretty much to death. There's not a lot of other surprises. I think some people thought Cam Young was going to get picked, but again, I don't think he's part of this boys club. And then when you have... I think this team looks a lot different if Clark and Harmon don't win majors, but because they win majors, they're in it. And I think this, Keegan probably is in if one of these guys don't win a major.
I agree.
I think that threw a wrench in a lot of Ryder Cup plans because I don't think anybody expected either one of those guys to win one. So, there's two spots right there that you probably have reserved for Cam Young and Keegan Bradley. And then, that your team's all set there. But I think everybody else has a chance to really, I'm not surprised by any of the other picks. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome that Ricky Fowler's there.
I'm so pumped that Ricky's there. I know that you don't like Brooks, but I'm excited to watch him because I haven't been watching him live, and he's always a beast in majors. So
yeah, I can't argue it. I can't stand the guy, but he's such a good talent that you have to have him on the team. I talked about it last week, so I'll be watching. I'll be wanting him to win his matches. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting also to see how Clark and Harmon do with, they really haven't had this stage before. Winning their majors were kind of like the first big, I feel like big stages that they were on, and now they're teeing it up at the Ryder Cup where everybody talks about they can't even feel their hands on the first tee box. So I don't know. They could be a new mainstay on the Ryder Cup team if Clark goes out there and goes 5-0. He could have a brand new big reputation for him.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It's so hard to predict. I was looking, just because we're club guys, There's 6 Titleist dudes on there, which is wild.
Half the squad.
Yep. 2 TaylorMade, 2 Callaway, and then Cobra and Strixon. So interesting mix of gear there, but Titleist definitely taking it down because I think Clark, Harmon, Cantlay, Homa, Spieth, Thomas, all Titleist guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you said that, because at the Tour Championship, I saw it was a pie chart, and it was the percentage of players that were playing each brand, and Titleist had over half for drivers, irons, for everything, and then like over 75% for putters because of Scotty. So, yeah, apparently all the best players in the world are leaning Titleist right now.
Except for the number 1 player in the world, Scotty Scheffler, who is all TaylorMade.
With a Scotty Cameron.
Yeah. Well, is he Scotty now? Because he was using that Spider. Okay. Yeah. I mean, even I have a Scotty Cameron, so it's hard to like argue that. But
and Brian Harmon has a Titleist bag with a TaylorMade putter.
Weird.
Reverse. Are we done with the USA?
Yeah, we're done with the USA. Let's move on. Stop talking about these. I mean, again, this is crazy because, like, I think, we can talk the USA team to death. I think we're kind of in some trouble, to be honest.
The European roster looks solid. And I was looking at a list of choices that Luke Donald had, and it was, the people that automatically qualified, and then the people that were on the edge of qualifying. And at that point, I was like, oh, we got this in the bag. Like, our guys are going to wreck this team. And then he put this squad together, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh my gosh, this looks like an amazing team. And a lot of them have really experienced careers, and we were talking about it the other day. They all seem like very likable people. So I don't know. It's kind of like weird because usually when it comes to the Ryder Cup, I'm like, oh, I hate that guy, and then I don't know. It's a little different this year. I like this squad. The one person. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, you finish your thought.
One person that caught my eye was the Ludwig Aberg pick. I watched him at the NCAA championships on TV in the spring, and then I saw him in Minnesota at the 3M Open, and then this last week he won over in Europe, and so I've seen like him play in a few different tournaments now, and every time he comes on, he has such a clean swing, and he looks so in control of his body that he's going to be a top player in the world. He turned pro 3 months ago. He's already made a huge impact on tour. He's already on the Ryder Cup, and I don't see him as one of those people fading off. So my hot take is that he'll be top 20 player in the world next year. I want to say top 10, but that would be like a very hot pick.
Yeah.
But he's so good, and he's so young. It's crazy.
He's going to do to the Ryder Cup what Tom Kim did for the President's Cup. Just be like the young dude that we all like get behind. And I've never even seen him play, but it's like I've heard crazy good things. So
yeah, he's a stick.
It'll be interesting. And it's funny, like you mentioned, this team is like hard to dislike. I think when we were kids, it was easy to hate the European team almost because you had guys like Sergio Garcia and Ian Poulter.
Those are the things that popped into my head. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, because they're kind of pricks. There were some like stuffier Europeans when we were kids that just kind of seemed like they were kind of dicks. Although, like, I actually have come to really like Ian Poulter a lot. But he just kind of seemed like, he was kind of a prick or whatever. And even some of those other guys they just kind of gave off like more of like an FU vibe. And these guys are all just fun, like Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, You cheer for those guys every week, and now you're going to be like, I hope you die. Um, I mean, like Justin Rose just seems like a super kind dude. Sepp Straka seems like a super kind dude. Shane Lowry is just like a big bear. Matty Fitz seems like a good guy. Tommy Fleetwood has like dry humor. You're like, oh, I'd like to be friends with him. Terrell
Yeah,
Hatton's obviously a character. Victor Hovland is maybe like the nicest guy on the team. Um, and even like McIntyre, again, all of these guys just seem like super. I don't know anything about Ludwig or Nikolai, but again, you're just like, I don't really want any of those guys to lose. And I even like Luke Donald. Like I loved watching Luke Donald as a kid. Like great swing, Mizuno irons. I love that. He's just like a likable human being.
yeah,
So I'm just like, well, crap. Like I don't. I mean, I'm obviously rooting for Team USA, but it's just like almost hard to root against somebody. Like who's gonna we all are like want Rory McIlroy to win every tournament that he plays in, and now we're like, hope you lose, Rory. Hope you
yeah,
just slice everything. Like that's so weird.
yeah. But when it comes down to the Ryder Cup, it's always the feeling. The feelings change when they tee off.
Yeah,
For obviously love cheering on the Team USA, no matter who's on the European team. Even though absolutely love some of these guys.
yeah, for sure. I also think I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because I've had thoughts on this for a long time when it comes to like people representing their country in an event. Like you see it in the Olympics sometimes or other. You saw like with Rory Sabatini this last Olympics. But like a lot of these guys go to like college in America, then they live here, they play on the PGA Tour, but then they're going to like represent their country for like the Ryder Cup, and it's like, like yeah, like Sepp Straka, you're like yeah, he was born there, but he like went to the University of Georgia and like has lived in Georgia since he was a kid, and has like gone back and spent time there. But I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's kind of a weird deal. I mean, like I remember as a kid, like Alex Rodriguez playing for like the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic. I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you haven't lived there for 30 years.
yeah. Do they get to pick like like Straka, for example? Like,
Yeah.
what
I
point
mean,
is he able to be considered Team USA?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. And I don't know if you have to be born here or I don't actually know what the qualifications are for it. It was more just an observation because I see this
Yeah,
happening a lot when, you know, guys. I mean, they are from that country, so it's not necessarily. I don't think they're not lying or anything like that. I mean, it's not a bad thing. I just think it's so interesting that it's like it'd be one thing if it's like, well, you went to school there, you still play on the European tour, but it's like you do everything here. However, if we said that for everybody, there'd be nobody to choose. Like we'd steamroll everybody because we'd have 9 people of this list or 8 people. Like Rory, John Rahm. I think Justin Rose does actually commute from London now, and I think
yeah,
like Tommy Fleetwood lives in Dubai. So like like Matty Fitz went to Northwestern, so it's just like John Rahm went to ASU. So I mean, yeah, you are Europeans for sure, but you've been here since you're 18 and you play all of your golf here for the most part. So like, I don't know. I don't even know if you have thoughts on that. I just think it's interesting.
yeah. I've honestly never really thought about that because to me, it's like their home country,
Yeah,
right? Rory lives here, but he's definitely Northern Ireland, and Ram lives here, but he's like 100% total lives and breathes a Spaniard. So I don't know. I can see like the Sepp Straka thing if he's lived here since he was 5. Like, well, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Me either. Again, I'm not saying they shouldn't play for their country. I just think it's funny when it's like, yeah, you've been here your entire adult life.
Yeah,
Um, and then you go, like you haven't lived in that country for a long time, but yet you're going to represent them when like you really, besides like country origin, like origin of birth or like childhood, you really have nothing currently that's like representative of that country except for your birth, which is fine. Again, I don't necessarily have a problem. I'm not saying necessarily a negative thing. It's just an interesting observation that am always just kind of like, you live in Florida, bro. So whatever.
The other interesting thing, I heard Justin Rose interview yesterday, and I've always thought that it would be so hard to like Team USA is playing for their country, the US. Europe is playing like against the US. Like they're not under one country. I think like only being to Europe one time, it seemed like it's a lot different than over here where it is kind of like the EU. It's all like kind of like one thing. The countries are almost states over there. It's a lot different than here, but Justin Rose said that when he puts on that shirt and it has that badge on his chest, how it just like pumps him up and gives him motivation to be to be his best self. And I'm like, but it's not even like your country. It's like literally a black shield that doesn't represent anything besides the European Ryder Cup logo. But apparently it's significant to them, and the Europeans like banding together for tournaments like this and stuff like this. But I think it's so interesting that like we put the flag on and all of our guys have red, white, and blue. That's our colors, and then Europe has like they're either wearing like blue and orange or black and yellow. Like they switch colors on days, and there's nothing solidified about their uniforms or to unite them together. So that's one interesting thing that I was kind of thinking about when I was watching that Justin Rose interview yesterday.
Yeah, it is interesting that it's a country versus a continent, for sure. So that's an interesting deal, and this is a super. I'm going to say it anyway because like it's my podcast, our podcast, so I can say whatever I want. But super hot take. But like I personally, this is Ryan's opinion. This is not opinions of anybody else, anybody associated with this. But I personally am not a huge fan of like the American like patriotic obsession we have. Like it's just as a country as a whole. This has nothing to do with the Ryder Cup, but it bleeds over into that. And I'm proud to be an American, all that kind of stuff. Like I'm happy that I live here. I love, the things the country affords me. All of those, I'm grateful for all of that. But like this crazy, I've never understood this like crazy patriotic obsession with like, let's wear the flag as like pants and let's like like have two American flags like blowing off of like this like F-450 that I own, even though I work in an office job and I've never used the bed of my truck for anything. But like that kind of thing I don't understand, and that's kind of why I almost like in certain aspects Europeans more. Is I know even though they are very like loyal, and I know like soccer fans can be crazy, but like you don't see people walking around in like a Spanish flag shirt or just like doing or saying some of the crazy ass things that like Americans will do for like patriotism. So anyway, that's a very unpopular opinion to have. So, and I get it. Like I get getting fired up, but like I have a, especially with just like some of the things like we as a country have like done or continued to do or like say that we're again, this is not a political podcast, but again, like I think sometimes we just overlook a lot of, unsavory or atrocity or those kinds of things in the name of like red, white, and blue. Let's fucking go.
Yeah. I don't know, Ryan.
Again, I don't know. Not to get too deep or philosophical on this podcast, but I just kind of like cannot stand that like crazy obsession to where it's almost like a religion. Like American patriotism becomes this like reason that I like live and breathe. And if you say anything or do anything, like we're coming for you kind of thing. Or you can't criticize anything because it's like anti-American or anything like that. So anyways,
I don't know,
sorry,
Ryan.
I'm on a soapbox tonight.
You're kind of describing me. Driving the truck, flying my flag high, sent you a picture of my red, white, and blue putter tonight.
Yeah, you're terrible.
So, USA,
Yeah.
USA.
I don't have any problem. I mean, like, again, I don't like if you want to be that. I just think like the culture as a whole is such a weird, obsessive thing that
Yeah,
it almost can be like at times unhealthy, or like some people take it to an unhealthy level where it's like, I mean, they're going to be fans there, and I'm sure it'll be on the other side too. But especially when it's here, where it's like to the point where like it's derogatory towards them because they're European, and it's like that guy lives in Florida, so like, hey, take it easy. You know what I mean? But it's like things, I don't know. We just do this kind of like we just do a very weird job of being patriotic in this country. Um, I just think it's weird.
yeah.
I don't know. I've just never been able to get up for, like that kind of thing. Like I would absolutely wear a piece of Ryder Cup gear, but I would never deck myself out in like head to toe red, white, and blue just for like a holiday. I'm not going to wear like United States trunks for Labor Day or Memorial Day or 4th of July. Like I don't know. Like that kind of stuff is just funny to me, and I can't get like up for it.
I know what you're getting for your birthday present.
Perfect. Cannot wait. Anyways, sorry for that rant.
So you will not be dressed up in red, white, and blue for the Ryder
No,
Cup.
no, that's not what I'm saying. Again, I don't know. I don't want to like speak out of both sides of my
No,
mouth. I
it's
have no problem with it. I'm just not gonna like. Do you know what I'm saying? Again, I don't even have a problem with if you wear red, white, and blue. All my only point in saying that is sometimes I feel like with the European side of things, it's a much more reserved, like um just kind of like prideful, reserved, like admiration. And the United States is like this in your face, like we're going to be like as obnoxious as possible, like annoyance with our country love.
yeah.
And I guess that's kind of my only point is sometimes I'm just like, I wish we would take it down just like a notch because sometimes I feel like other countries look at us and they're like, those guys are like they're embarrassing
Oh,
themselves.
100%. I think that's the world's view on us. Loud and proud.
Yeah, and I just am like, I am not. I agree with that, like sentiment from other countries, and maybe it's because I've lived abroad and been some places, but I'm kind of like, oh yeah, you can have pride in where you come from without being a complete jackass about it. And I sometimes think the world thinks that we are all just like these complete jackasses when it comes to like America kind of thing, and I just can't get behind that type of patriotism. I'm fine with. I'm not anti-American. Please don't. I feel like that's the first thing that's going to go on this podcast is that I'm that, and that's not what I'm getting at.
All right.
Anyways, all that to say is Brady does not like the United States, and I had to talk him off the ledge of cheering for Europe.
Yes, thank you for that. You changed my mind.
Yeah. Okay. Phew. Okay. So we're both voting for America. It was dodgy there for a second.
Anything else on the Europe roster that we want to talk about, or are we moving to these crazy, absurd Tiger stats that you dug up?
Let's go to these Tiger stats because we've already been at this for 50 minutes and we thought we were going to be done by now. So, okay, so I came across these collection of Tiger Woods stats. We've already heard that. I'm sure you guys have all heard these 100 times, and I have read them, and I know Brady has already read them like before, but I sent them to Brady, and they're just insane. So I was gonna read them off one by one, and then I thought like, I just want to get Brady. I want to get your reaction to it, and then if something like sticks out and we chat about it, great. If not, we'll just move on to the next one. But like, first one is best score to par in majors from 1997 to 2009. It does say minimum of 70 rounds, so they had to play a considerable amount of those. Tiger Woods is a minus 134. The next best player is Phil Mickelson at plus 99, and then Ernie Els at plus 118. Phil was the only player within 250 strokes of Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Go.
Okay, I'm gonna read not in order here, but I'm gonna read the next stat that's related to this one, and it was the most eye popping to me.
Okay.
So this is on the third page here. From the 99 PGA through the 2001 Masters, Tiger's finishes in majors were win, fifth, win, 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 win. In that time, he had 5 major wins, and only 4 players finished ahead of him combined. And the next person was 99 over. He was reeling off wins, obviously, with that type of score during that time period.
Yeah.
That's just insane.
And I think, we talked about this before we hopped on the podcast, but it's just like, and you'll see this as we go, but it's not just that he wins and that he won everything. It's the dominance with which he does it. Like 250 strokes separating the next best guy in that is just absolutely, absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah.
I would like to see how many. Again, I would like to see how many people have qualified for the minimum 70 rounds. Because, it's all people who would be in that same age bracket. I'm guessing there's got to be more than a few, but the number, regardless, is still pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's a 12-year span.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, stat number 2. From 1999 through 2007, Tiger Woods played in 17 World Golf Championship stroke play events. He won 12 of them. He was 188 under par in those events, just in those 17 events, 131 shots better than anyone else, whose Jim Furyk was minus 57. So, again, basically, almost the exact same type of stat, just like the world's best competitors coming together in, slightly easier conditions. Because Jim Furyk was at least under par instead of being over par. But still just a catastrophic difference between Tiger and the next best guy. And the winning percentage is insane.
Yeah, 12 out of 17 in that 8-year period.
Yeah, it's just crazy. All right, next one. Tiger is the only player since 1950 to win the same PGA Tour event 4 years in a row, and he did it twice. Bay Hill from 2000 to 2003, and the Buick Invitational from 2005 to 2008.
So not only is he the only player to ever do it, he did it twice, and he did it at 2 different tournaments, not overlapping. So
not overlapping.
Ranges from 2000 to 2008, basically. So he was dominating during that entire time. He didn't just get lucky 4 tournaments in a row or 4 years in a row.
And just to I don't know. A golf, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. To just basically not have anybody else catch fire or get lucky, or just skirt by him by 1 stroke in 4 consecutive times. That's just mind blowing. Like how you could go and dominate a golf course that much consecutively. Because you just watch guys now, and it's the same few guys who are dominant, and it's just so hard to win on the PGA Tour, and it's so hard to repeat an event. Like, it just happens so infrequently. I don't know. It's just crazy.
Like, the number 1 player in the world, Scotty, right now, it's like, well, he might, he's been getting top 10s, religiously. But in no way is he, he's usually... There's sometimes the favorite, but sometimes not. It's not a lock for him to be the favorite. It's just a different world. It's unbelievable. There are no words, like you said.
Next one, and this may be the most impressive one to me. From 2004 to 2006, so basically 3 seasons worth, Tiger had 1,466 putts from 3 feet and in, measured by ShotLink. He missed 3 of them. So he was 1,463 for 1,466 on 3-foot putts, which I know sounds not that impressive, but anybody who's been over a 3-foot putt knows that they're going to miss a fair amount given 1,500 shots.
Yeah. And that was 3 feet and in. So his 1-inch tappers count in that, but still.
Yeah. But still, I mean, like, I'm a pretty good golfer, and I probably miss at least 1 3-footer around, just out of, like, I don't know, you pull it, you're not, I don't know. So just, like, the consistency of that is insane.
Yeah. Crazy.
All right, you read the Masters one, so let's go on to the next one. Most strokes gained total. Okay, so this is the same span. So, that one that you said from 1999 to 2001, from the 1999 PGA to the 2001 Masters. So this is that same span. Most strokes gained in that span, Tiger Woods, 115.7. Next highest guy, David Duval, 56.
Like,
I don't even know. Yeah. Again, we're just going to end up with the same dumbfounded response, but just like, how do you gain that many strokes in a short amount of that short amount of time?
Yeah, he doubled up Duval.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I just don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Okay, this is an insane stat. Win percentage by the outright 54-hole leader on the PGA Tour. In 2022, the 54-hole leader won 41.4% of the time. On the PGA Tour in the last 10 years, the 54-hole leader has won 42% of the time, so not even half the time, which is crazy that the guy leading after 3 rounds wins less than half the time. Mm-hmm. That seems crazy. Tiger Woods, at 54-hole leader, has won 95.7% of the time if leading after 3 rounds, 44 for 46.
I'm surprised that the PGA Tour average is that low, but
right,
basically be a lock after the 3rd round if you're leading. Not only was he he had all the talent to do that, but everyone else against him, the guys in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, they knew that he closed out every time.
Mm-hmm. So and if you've heard any documentaries or anything with anybody who was playing with him at that time, they would all say this. They've all said that. Like, we basically knew we were playing for second every time we teed it up with Tiger.
So you went 44 for 46. Do you know what the 2 were? Was it the 2008 US Open?
Is that the one where he got beat by Michael Campbell?
The one I'm thinking of was... I'm blanking out.
Okay, his only losses with the 54-hole lead were the Quad City Classic in 1996 when he was 20 and making his 3rd start as a pro, and the 2009 PGA Championship at Hazeltine against Y.E. Yang, which is crazy. It's even crazier that Y.E. Yang is the one who chased him down.
Yeah, so he lost that one that when he was 20, and then basically the only one that mattered was the one, Y.E. Yang.
Here's another crazy stat to add on to that one. That 54 and 56 is just when he holds the lead by himself. If he was tied for the lead, if you add the ties in there, he's 55-4 after 54 holes. If you add in if he was tied for the lead. Insane. Okay. All right. During the entire 2000 PGA Tour season, Tiger Woods recorded 1 round higher than 73. It was the first round of the Masters, which he shot 75 when the field was averaging 75.59.
And he won. He won that tournament. Right? The 2000 Masters?
No, he finished 5th, I think.
Oh, did he?
He won the 2001 Masters, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Vijay Singh won the 2000 Masters.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But that's still incredible. That was Tiger in his prime, so playing a lot, not like the Tiger we all know now. And he shot one round above 73. How is that human? I mean, that just seems inhuman. One round all season? Anyways, I mean, I just don't understand how you can be that dialed in all the time. Like that's video game numbers.
Yeah, and that's rain, wind,
right?
Whatever the course conditions may be, like
you don't have a bad day. How can you go out there every day all season, never have a bad day? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
that's just that he didn't shoot over par ever. All those guys shoot over par. It's just a crazy stat. I don't think people realize how insane it is, even for a professional golfer, to go out against that kind of competition and that pressure on those type of golf tournaments and never shoot over par ever. It's absolutely crazy. Okay. There are 2 instances since 1900, so 123 years, of a player winning a men's professional major by 10 strokes or more. Only 2. They both belong to Tiger Woods and have been 12 or more, the 97 Masters and the 2000 U.S. Open. So it hasn't even happened in 23 years because but he owns the only 2 instances of winning a major by 10 strokes or more.
I love these stats where something has only happened 2, 3, 4 times and Tiger has all of them.
It's mind-boggling. This next one, here's another one. From the 99 Memorial to the 2001 Memorial, Tiger Woods won 20 times in 40 official PGA Tour events. So that's a 2-year span. He won 20 out of 40 tournaments. He then did it again, winning 20 times in 40 starts from the 2005 WGC American Express through the 2008 U.S. Open. Yeah, go ahead. No, you go.
Winning percentage through 2 or 3 seasons twice.
Yeah, right. Can you imagine if Rory McIlroy or Scottie Scheffler won every other tournament? We can't even. We just think about these guys who have great seasons. They're like, they won 4 times. That's amazing, which it is. But I just can't imagine Scottie Scheffler being like, dude won every other tournament he played in. It's never going to happen. Yeah, never going to happen. Okay. This one is just kind of cool, but I guess it's not that crazy. I don't know. Incredibly, Tiger Woods won his 100th, his 200th, and his 300th official starts on the PGA Tour. So, right on the number. 100 was the 2000 World Golf Championship Invitational. 200 was the Buick Invitational in 2006. And the 300th was the 2013 Players Championship. So,
that one is so far the least surprising to me, especially if he's racking off every other tournament he's winning. The odds are that he's going to hit it on those numbers is pretty good.
Yeah, and so what else is interesting too is everybody talks about how he until he won the Masters, he hadn't won a major since 2008, so it had been 11 years, but he did sneak in a Players Championship 5 years after his U.S. Open win, which is pretty impressive to me. Okay, here we go. Across Tiger Woods' 82 PGA Tour wins, fellow competitors in those events have been born in the span of 1922 to 1990. That's just a random fact. That's just funny. I mean, it just shows his dominance over a long period of time.
77-year birth year gap in his opponents in the wins that he's had.
Crazy. And okay, I lied about the putting thing. I think this is the most impressive stat he holds.
Okay.
Tiger Woods has the PGA Tour record for most consecutive cuts made at 142, which will never be broken, I don't think.
Unbelievable.
Jon Rahm has the longest active streak at 19 cuts made. Based on past schedule trends, if Rahm keeps his streak going, he would break Tiger's record sometime in the spring of 2029.
So don't miss a cut for 6 more years.
Right. You can't miss one cut for 6 more years. And we all know John Rahm is going to miss a cut. So,
Yeah,
again, it's just like
that one's unreal.
the control of your golf game. This is what's always been crazy about Tiger to me is just like the control. I don't know how that's possible. Like how you can get at least on the cut line every time without somebody making like a move, because there's got to be times where he finished on the cut line early in the day and a lot of things could have happened. So it's just like, to like know where he needed to be almost and like sense where the field was going to be at and know like I have to get to this number even if I don't have my best stuff. It's almost like he could will it to happen. And more so than that, it's almost like he could will the field to like let it happen.
Yeah.
Like my power is so strong that you will wilt and nobody will do what they need to do to knock me off my perch.
That's the coolest thing about how dominant he was, is that everyone knew it. And
yeah.
I don't know if the mentality is different today, or there's just not been a player, like obviously there wasn't a player like him with his mindset, his ability to execute, but like if Rory's hot and he comes into a tournament, maybe he won the last 2 tournaments and this is the 3rd one now. Like nobody really cares. Like yeah, he's hot, but they're not going into it thinking like, oh shoot, like Rory's gonna beat me, right? They're like I'm like, okay, that's fine, but I'm gonna win this one.
Well, yeah, I mean, almost the opposite. Like, well, he can't win 3 in a row, so I have a good like he's not going to do it. So
yeah,
which they just didn't think about. They just thought about Tiger as on a whole different level than other people, which is just so wild. I just don't. Yeah, we'll never see anybody else like it. Tiger Woods is the only player currently under the age of 50 with 25 more PGA Tour wins. He got his 25th PGA Tour win in 2001 at Bay Hill. So 22 years ago, he got his 25th win, and nobody has been able to do that under 50 since. Crazy stat. Tiger Woods has won 7 majors by 3 or more shots, the most all time. The last player before Woods to reach the career milestone of 7 majors won total in men's golf was Tom Watson in 1982. So Tiger's won 7 by 3 or more shots. The last person to even win 7 majors before him was Tom Watson in 1982, let alone how many shots he won that by. And I also didn't even realize until I read this that Tom Watson's won that many majors, which is impressive.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. That, I don't know. I mean, again, Brooks Koepka's coming close, though. We'll see if he can.
Yeah,
get to that. He's at 5, right?
Oh, I think he can get there. Well, he'll get to 7.
Yeah,
I think
he seems like the only person right now who could catch Tiger as far, or not even catch, but like compete with some of these stats with just how dominant he seems to be in the majors.
Yeah.
It would have been Rory, but he just, again, is having such a long drought. But
yeah.
Okay, here we go. Here's another one of you like these. In the last 60 years, there are 3 instances of a player winning 5 or more PGA Tour starts in a row. 5 or more in a row, 3 instances. They all belong to Tiger Woods. He won 7 in a row, then he won 6 in a row, and then he won 5 in a row. It's crazy.
7 in a row.
Yeah, again, we just like laugh because it's like never going to happen. Like Lucas Glover and Victor Hovland both won, like back-to-back weeks, and people were just like losing their minds. Like Lucas Glover has to be on the Ryder Cup team because he won 2 weeks in a row, or Victor Hovland's like the biggest problem on the European Ryder Cup team now because he's won 2 weeks in a row. Like you said, he's on fire. And Tiger was just reeling off multiple times, 7 in a row, 6 in a row, 5 in a row. Yeah. No wonder guys were intimidated. Like, I'd let him make the cut too. Here we go. This is crazy too. This is the last one. And then we'll wrap up. Tiger Woods is credited with 41 career wins on the European Tour, which is 3rd most all time on the European Tour, and he never played on that tour.
Like, okay.
What?
Um,
Anyways, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, nobody's surprised by the dominance of Tiger. I just thought that was fun and that we should talk about it. But anytime I read stuff like that, I just am like, that's unbelievable.
yeah. Crazy the stuff that he did. I was very young and watched like the end of his prime, the like 2000, 2001, 2002
Yeah.
time.
You missed some
Unfortunately,
good golf, my friend.
I've seen all the highlights, but I wish I
Not
would
the
have been
same.
there for it.
Yeah, it was pretty fun to watch. I mean, like, you know, you don't know what you're watching. I mean, I was a kid, you know, so I was like, 99, 2000 was like end of middle school, beginning of high school. So you don't really know what you're watching. I mean, like, I remember it because I watched the 97 Masters with my dad. And so, like, that's kind of what got me into golf. And then I just remember watching those seasons just being like, I mean, you know, like you didn't know, so you're just like, this is crazy. You know, I love Tiger Woods, so your favorite player is winning all the tournaments, so that's cool. But I didn't realize really what was happening until like now, you know, until I'm an adult and just being like,
Yeah,
that was unbelievable. And you just think about all the dominant, like you think about Michael Jordan and how dominant he was, and to me, Tiger Woods is just so much more dominant in his sport.
yeah.
Um,
It's tough to find another player who had that big of an impact in any sport. Like Michael Jordan would obviously be the closest. Um, it's just hard. Like going to other sports, it doesn't seem like there was ever a player that had that big of an impact on not only like the game, like going out and winning, but like getting like you're into golf because of Tiger. I'm into golf because of Tiger. Like
right.
hundreds of thousands of people play golf because they saw him play.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say it's millions of people that got
Yeah,
into golf that
yeah,
never would have. Like golf was a non, you know, competitor as far as sports goes in the marketplace, and now it's, you know, insane. Like, and I know, you know, like he's credited with purses were ridiculously low.
yeah.
There was nothing, you know, like you couldn't. There was nothing there, and now it's a lucrative deal, which is just insane. And I think too, I had a point that I was going to make, and now I've. Oh, I was going to ask you. I mean, we haven't had this debate on the podcast yet, but I mean, I know we're both like super Tiger fans, but what is your thought on the Nicholas versus Tiger debate? Like, where do you stand on that? You know, like if you could be as unbiased as possible.
I feel like Tiger has to take the cake on it because of the stats that you just read and how dominant he was against his players. Like the technology had a big impact on the scoring records that he broke, but like pound for pound, what he did to the other players that he was playing against, like I mean,
Yeah,
it's crazy. The stats that you read off are crazy, and none of like I think Tiger beat all or most of Nicholas's.
holy cow! Vibrate one time. Do not disturb. Let's go.
It's on Do Not Disturb, so I don't know.
Somebody needs to get a hold of you. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's in. I honestly almost think it's like insane. I know this sounds crazy, but like I don't know how you don't pick Tiger as the greatest golfer of all time. Like I know some people say, well, Jack is our greatest champion, but Tiger is the greatest golfer, and I guess I can go with that. You know, um, except like Tiger has won more than Jack, just not as many majors, and I get that we measure the sport by that for sure. But
Yeah,
at the same time, and I know that that's like the one record that will cloud his legacy forever because he's, you know, 99.9% sure he's never going to get there. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Just again, based on those stats and just the way he dominated, the amount that he's dominated. Again, you know, I know he's tied with Sam Snead, which is for wins, which is a joke because if you look at some of those tournaments that Sam Snead won, like some of them are exhibitions, or there was like four people in the field I'm dead serious. Like, you should go look at the list of some of the tournaments.
My my local county course that I play at, he won a tournament there. So
And that's counted on the list.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Was that a PGA Tour event back then?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so I think you're comparing. Yeah, I think some of those need to be revisited and I mean, again, nothing against Sam Snead because clearly he's a great champion too, but if we count all of Tiger's exhibitions and like 4 people things and like limited field things that weren't official events, like he would take down Snead easily. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I know the major. I mean, it would be awesome if he was at 18 or 19, and then we could lay that whole thing to bed. Because clearly, if you take Nicklaus in his prime versus Tiger in his prime, Tiger is a better golfer, hands down. I mean, I would have to look at the stats, but I would say in every aspect of the game, like, and I don't know. Again, I haven't looked at the stats, but I just feel like if you were to put Jack and Tiger on the same trajectory in the same time, like Tiger scoring stats, everything would be better than Jack's.
Yeah, probably. I think the argument is like the course conditions were better for Tiger. Like the courses are a lot different than they were when Jack played. Obviously, the driver and the golf ball made a crazy difference too. So like his stats are going to be better. His driving accuracy, like proximity to the pin, putting stats, they're probably all going to be better. But like I think they're better not only because of the technology and course conditions, but because he was a better golfer.
Let me ask you this, and again, this is obviously speculative, but like if you put Tiger in Jack's era with Jack's stuff, is he still dominant?
Yeah, 100%.
And if you put Jack in Tiger's era with Tiger's stuff, how dominant is Jack with Tiger in the picture?
They probably go head to head. I don't know, or it could be more like a Tiger and Phil thing where Jack is good, but he's not Tiger. Like,
yeah,
that's what I imagine in my head. Obviously, I never watched Jack play, but like that's what I kind of imagine in my head. Like, if Jack was in Tiger's era, he would be like competing, and he'd be like that second place guy. Like, he'd win second place by a long ways, but he'd win second place.
Interesting. Yeah, I can definitely see it. Again, I know it's hard to compare because you could never just extrapolate out equipment and stuff like that. And obviously, Jack Nicklaus is a clear number 2 if he's not the number 1. There's no debating who the top 2 are. But
Yeah.
I think I wonder how many people would admit that if Tiger could get to the major number, then the conversation is put to bed, right? So that's really the only thing we're talking about that separate Jack from Tiger Woods is 3 tournaments. That's what we're talking about. Is really the only difference. Like, if majors were equal, I don't think anybody has a problem saying Tiger Woods is the greatest of all time, which just shows me like then apples to apples, he's better. Because if you're gonna throw, if you're just talking 3 tournaments that he was injured and couldn't get 3 tournaments, then he's still the best golfer of all time. But I mean, I know we don't measure things like that.
I'd have to look it up, but I think that Jack also had more second places than anyone else.
Oh yeah, he did for sure.
Like a lot, which adds to his side of the argument.
For sure. Yep, definitely. You're right. I totally agree with that being, kind of close in contention. Tiger was usually, I don't know how many seconds he had, but it was usually like, I'm going to win or I'm not really, I don't know, I wouldn't say in contention, but he wasn't like flirting right there with it.
Yeah, I know that he didn't have nearly as many seconds as Jack, but in my mind, Tiger takes the trophy on that.
Yeah.
On GOAT, Tiger's GOAT.
I agree. I'm looking it up Tiger's thing real quick. Sorry, lots of dead air here. So, yep, Jack Nicklaus has 19 second place finishes in majors, which is 7 more than the next highest guy, which is Phil Mickelson at 12. Tiger Woods only had 6. So
that's a big difference.
Less than a third of what Jack did. So there is that for sure. I mean, Tiger's not even.
That's basically like Jack finishing first or second in almost all of his majors.
Yeah. I mean, that makes that number what? 37?
I forgot what numbers you said.
20. He has 19 and 18 wins, right? So 37.
37. Yeah.
I mean, that's a shit ton of majors for sure.
Yeah, that's every major.
That's 9 years of 4 majors a year being completely dominant for a decade.
Yeah. That
pretty impressive stat.
Yeah.
So he's definitely, I mean, you have to give it to him in the majors for sure. He's the best majors player golfer of all time. I just think I don't know. I think if you put Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus side by side in their prime, just as far as an actual golfer, champion, winner, I really don't think it would be much of a comparison, because I think it would be exactly like it was when Tiger was out there, is like he just blew it by everybody. And I think Jack would fall into that group with, Ernie and David Duval and Vijay Singh and Phil Mickelson. And he may have been better than those guys, but I think another guy just kind of zooms by him in Tiger Woods. Again, we could speculate about it all day. Maybe I'd be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, that major record is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that is. I'd definitely put up that 37 out of 40. Is that what it was? First or seconds over that 10-year span?
Well, I mean, yeah, I was just doing the math. 37 majors is 9 years plus a major. So I don't know. I don't know when that first one, win or second place was, and when the last first or second place was. It was probably more than that. That's the thing that I think Jack deserves the most credit for, is he never was injured. I don't think. So he was just never not there competing, and so there is something to say about that, and he deserves obviously credit for that. And obviously will go down as the best, unless a miracle happens and Tiger can somehow figure a way to get back and win multiple majors pushing 50 years old, which, I'm still holding out unrealistic hope that that's going to happen. But obviously not likely. So I think, the debate will wage on for the annals of history, because I don't think Tiger Woods ever gets to that number. So anyways, I think we're good. I was planning on this being less than an hour, and now it's been, I think, our longest podcast together. So
you never know when those things hit.
Damn you, college football. Anyways, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been episode 17, I think, of the Part On podcast. You guys are great. Follow, rate, review. Follow us on Instagram, whatever, TikTok, YouTube, all those kinds of things. Helps us out. We'll be back next week. Hopefully there's something to talk about, but Ryder Cup week will be full of good nuggets. But we'll be back. So thank you guys, and we will see you next time.